Bleacher Report just released their top 20 WNBA player rankings ahead of the 2025 season. So who's in the top 5? Number 1, Asia Wilson. Number 2, Nafisa Collier. Number 3, Breanna Stewart. Number 4, Alyssa Thomas. And number 5, Caitlin Clark. So
did you catch the latest WNBA player rankings? Caitlin Clark, who just finished 4th in MVP voting, somehow slipped to 5th overall. The level of disrespect is astonishing. Rachel Dida is absolutely livid over this. How does a player who has single-handedly revolutionized women's basketball get downgraded like this? The media's reasoning seems to hinge on championships and turnovers, but let's be real. Expecting a rookie to already have championship titles is completely unreasonable. That argument falls apart under the slightest scrutiny. There's clearly something off with these rankings, and all signs point toward a blatant bias against the rising star who is fast becoming the face of women's basketball. The pattern is undeniable. Just take a look at what Rachel Dida had to say.
But let's talk about this top 5 because I don't love it. As you can probably guess, I don't love it. Caitlin Clark at 5 is crazy to me, and it's crazy to me just off the rip because if we look at the MVP voting from last season, she was number 4 in MVP voting. It was Asia, Nafisa, Breanna, and then Caitlin. I don't know how she slides down into the number 5 spot, especially behind Alyssa Thomas.
Let's put this into perspective. Caitlin Clark finished 4th in MVP voting as a rookie, an extraordinary accomplishment that highlights just how influential she's been from the very start. So how does a player recognized as the 4th most valuable in the entire league inexplicably drop to 5th in the overall player rankings? This mathematical inconsistency has left basketball fans scratching their heads, especially given her undeniable impact on the sport's popularity and visibility.
Conversations around Caitlin Clark are reminiscent of crash outs, very often completely out of proportion to the reality of this point. But it is strange to see them continue with such passion, and really all they are is an indication of Caitlin Clark's motion and pop.
What's especially puzzling is the choice of players ranked above her. Alyssa Thomas, for instance, landed higher than Clark despite battling injuries throughout the previous season.
Alyssa Thomas is a veteran getting older in this league, and Caitlin Clark is only going into her 2nd season. She's also not coming off of a college season. She essentially played an NBA season last year, the amount of games that she played. She has had an entire offseason to get stronger, to get ready for the 2nd WNBA season, and now she has pieces around her.
Alyssa Thomas is undoubtedly a talented player. But how does someone who battled significant medical issues manage to outrank a rookie who is electrifying the entire league? Veteran analyst Rachel DeMita called the rankings crazy, specifically questioning this baffling comparison. She rightly pointed out the absurdity of placing an injury-plagued player above an athlete who has quite literally transformed women's basketball. The rankings completely overlook Caitlin Clark's franchise-altering impact during her rookie season. WNBA attendance soared by 74% across the league, with Indiana Fever games selling out 17 consecutive home games, a franchise record. Television ratings skyrocketed, too, with regular season games averaging 1.22 million viewers, a staggering 170% increase from the previous year. Fans who had never watched women's basketball before suddenly became loyal followers. That's the measurable Clark effect. And these rankings seem to dismiss it entirely.
She was getting double and triple teamed last season, face guarded. You guys seen it. We've talked about it so many times on here, and she was still in the top 4 of MVP voting and still broke so many records as a rookie.
This controversy exposes a deeper issue. The media's subtle attempts to control the narrative around who gets to be the face of women's basketball. There appears to be a reluctance to fully acknowledge Clark's monumental impact. Almost as if there's an unwritten rule that rookies aren't allowed to rise too quickly, no matter how extraordinary their performance or influence might be.
Let's talk about why they put her at number 5. The writer says Clark was also somewhat tough to slot. Having a rookie ahead of multiple champions and MVPs feels like a case of too much too soon, and there aren't court quibbles to poke at. The turnover numbers, I knew this was coming, though explainable with coverage and degree of difficulty, context are still a lot. There is certainly growth needed defensively, particularly off the...
Consider what Caitlin Clark accomplished in just her rookie season. She stepped into a league filled with seasoned veterans, took hits every game, faced relentless defensive pressure, and still performed at an MVP caliber level. That alone is extraordinary. Yet somehow, the latest rankings suggest she's taken a step backward, a notion that simply doesn't align with reality. The truth is clear. These rankings downplay Clark's revolutionary impact on the game. It feels as if the message is, thanks for bringing millions of new fans to the WNBA, but wait your turn. Rachel DeMita called it out, and she's absolutely right. Clark's influence extends far beyond the stat sheet. She's attracting new sponsors, securing bigger TV deals, and bringing long overdue attention to the league. Her impact is reshaping the future of women's basketball, and no ranking can truly capture that.
As much as people harp on Caitlin about turnovers and not having any rings, I just want to take this mic and bang it against my head if I hear someone else say that she hasn't won anything and that's why we can't label her as great.
The justifications being used to keep Clark at number 5 are, frankly, beyond absurd. When you hear their reasoning, it's enough to make your blood boil. They've fixated on two main criticisms: her turnover numbers and her lack of championship rings. But both arguments crumble under even the slightest bit of critical thinking. Let's start with the turnover narrative. Yes, Clark had turnovers during her rookie season, but what the media conveniently overlooks is why they happened. Rachel DeMita, a former player and respected analyst, highlighted that Clark's passing is so advanced, so precise, that it often exposed her teammates' inability to keep up with her vision. Picture this. Clark threads a perfect bounce pass between 3 defenders, anticipating her teammate's cut to the basket. But her teammate hesitates, misses the timing, and the ball sails out of bounds. Clark, despite executing a brilliant visionary play, gets unfairly charged with the turnover. Situations like this were far too common, and yet the rankings treat these context-rich moments as simple stats, ignoring the nuance entirely.
No one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA.
This happens because Clark sees the game differently. She's always 3 steps ahead, anticipating openings that others don't recognize until it's too late. When she delivers those pinpoint, precision passes and her teammates fail to capitalize, it's Clark who takes the statistical hit for their shortcomings. Instead of celebrating her elite vision and playmaking instincts, the numbers unfairly penalize her for seeing possibilities her teammates weren't ready to seize.
LeBron goes in the league his first season and doesn't win an NBA title, and all of a sudden he can't be top 5 in MVP voting. Like, we don't do this in any other sport, and we especially don't do it in basketball. We do not rank NBA players based on if they won in college or how many titles they have.
Analysts are using these turnovers as a smokescreen to distract from everything else Clark brings to the court. They obsess over this cherry-picked stat while conveniently ignoring her elite scoring ability, her game-changing shooting range, and her court vision that creates opportunities for everyone around her. It's like judging a 5-course meal by only critiquing the napkins. And their second excuse is even more illogical. They claim Clark deserves a lower ranking because other players have championship rings. But let's be serious, she's a rookie. How could she possibly have multiple championships already? This line of reasoning defies all logic and reeks of an arbitrary standard designed to hold her back.
But we do not do this, especially in their first year. So the fact that they're putting her at 5 just because other people have won championships is just a cop-out, in my personal opinion. She shouldn't be 5. She absolutely shouldn't be 5. I have her top 3. Probably top 2, just because of what we've seen.
Rachel DeMita called this argument exactly what it is: a complete cop-out. She highlighted a fundamental truth. Championships are team accomplishments, not individual achievements. Using rings as the primary criterion for ranking individual players is fundamentally flawed, especially when it comes to a first-year player like Clark. It ignores the broader context of her performance and impact on the game.
We're also going by what if these players played in the offseason. There's only two people in the top 5 who played during the offseason in Unrivaled, and that's Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. And if you're going by that, Breanna Stewart actually didn't do as well as a lot of people were expecting in Unrivaled. And she also didn't win. Like, I don't even think her team made playoffs. And again, I'm not holding that against her because it's a different type of game, but I think a lot of people were expecting Breanna Stewart to be in that MVP conversation in Unrivaled, and she was.
The double standard becomes even more glaring when we look at players ranked above Clark. Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart are both ranked higher, despite their teams not even making the playoffs last season. If championships and team success are such important factors, Shouldn't these criteria apply to everyone equally?
That championships are definitely a team recognition. They are something that a team does together and accomplish as a player. And when you're ranking players, you are ranking them as an individual unit rather than